Kurt Cobain POV.
Hello everybody, and today I want to showcase my working FV4005. And really quick before we get into it, I just want to say that if you enjoy this video or Minecraft tanks in general, consider checking out the rest of my videos, because I have a bunch of Minecraft tank related stuff on my channel. As always, mod pack will be in a Discord server in the video description, so you can build this yourself, and the schematic will be on the Patreon. So to really get into it, what is the FV4005? Well, this is a British self-propelled gun, or a tank destroyer, if you will. And the idea for this was created in 1951 after British engineers decided they needed something even more powerful than the FV4004, also known as the Conway, which had a 120mm gun. And this was because that they saw the real of the IS-3 in the Victory Day Parade in 1945 by the Soviets, and so they decided that they got a little spooked by it. They decided that they wanted something that could reliably knock out an IS-3 at range. So the requirements were for the gun to be able to penetrate 150mm of armor at a 60-degree angle at 2 kilometers or over 2 kilometers, which is pretty ridiculous. And they decided that the 120mm wasn't cutting it, so they jumped straight up to the 183mm, which is what the FV4005 is packing. So they considered a couple of different designs, such as a casemate with heavy frontal armor, like the Tortoise, for example, which is another, well, I would call it a assault gun that they made, but it's of similar role. They considered a lightly armored self-propelled gun, and they also considered a fully turreted design, which is what they eventually came to with the FV4005, although it only has a limited turret arc of about 90 degrees frontal. Another thing about the FV4005 is its extremely thin turret armor, although the hull has fairly respectable armor at, I think it's about 100mm on the upper glasses, but the turret only has 14mm all around here, so that is enough to be penned by a higher caliber machine gun, let alone any tank gun. So it was designed to be shooting from extremely long distances, like I mentioned earlier, that 2 kilometer requirement, which it would never actually get due to how extremely inaccurate the gun was. It was a 183mm based off a World War I howitzer, and they lengthened it some, but that really still wasn't enough to make it accurate. Another quirk due to its inaccuracy was the development of these very large, obviously 180mm HESH shells, that is high explosive squash head. And this is because trying to hit any part of the tank that you want at 2 kilometers with an extremely inaccurate gun is not going to work. But hitting the tank in general is a lot easier. And with HESH, it doesn't really matter where you hit it. The sheer amount of explosive mass in that shell is going to hopefully knock it out. And especially when combined with the massive diameter of the gun. As you widen a shell, the amount of penetration you get from an armor-piercing shell tends to scale quadratically, but due to just the way volume works, the amount of explosive mass scales cubically. So you get a lot more value, you could say, as you go up the calibers. But that's enough yapping. You want to see this thing actually work. And as you saw in the intro, this thing does actually shoot. And we are suspiciously positioned very close to a village here, for good reason. So on the inside, we have some ammo racks in the back. The turret was lengthened out just to store ammo. The shells take up a lot of room, and it was only supposed to carry about 20 rounds in the back. This is a lot more than it would actually have, because these shells are very small in comparison. And it was also supposed to have an incredibly long reload time. I believe the shells were supposed to well, they did weigh, I should say. They weighed over 60 pounds, I think it was. And you had to load it in 2 parts with the shell and the propellant separately. And it took 2 loaders even at that. And it had a incredibly slow reload rate, which I think was like 30 seconds to a minute per loading cycle. So to mimic that in game, we have a manually rammed gun here. So you're going to have to open up the breech, which is a sliding breech here. And you also have include this little window here, so you can see when the breech opens. And you can also use it as the world's worst cupola if you really wanted to. But the point is that so you can see when it's open, and then you're going to place your high explosive shell. There's no HESH in game right now. There's heat, there's high explosive, but no HESH. So we're just going to use high explosive. And then manually ram it in with a ramrod. which is not the most accurate, but that's just what we got. And then you're going to close the breech, assemble the gun, and then you have the gunner position over here with a seat. Loader pretty much just stands whatever, given that they have to be moving around and placing blocks and stuff like that. So let's get on the gun here. And you'll see that the gun does in fact reverse us an IS-4 over there you just saw, which we'll be testing later. But let's try to hit this spot for no reason in particular. And I'm not sure how this would compare to the, well, I do not compare. This is a little bit more destructive than an actual shell would be, even if it is 183 millimeters. It definitely not make a crater this large, but I would say that this gun is pretty powerful, both in real life and in game, although maybe a little more in game. Perhaps a better test would be against some actual armor. So over here we have an IS-4, which is a little better than the IS-3's thing was meant to destroy. Also, it looks pretty bad because I built it, but we're going to see what it would do against another tank. So let's line up here. We'll try to go for the somewhere along the turret ring-ish area, maybe through the side, to be honest. So let's go check out the damage. And I probably should have seen this coming, but it has done more damage to the surrounding area than the tank itself. There's only like 2 blocks here missing, just because of how strong the armor is. So you could say that this is actually somewhat accurate representation of the HESH shells, just because they were not designed to blow up tanks exactly. They were supposed to induce spalling on the inside, which we have no mechanic for. So they just kind of suck. But actually, let's see if we can test this thing against some other players and their tanks. Alright, so we're here in the FV4005, and we're going to be fighting a American T-29, which is not a very likely matchup, but it is fairly time appropriate. I don't have an IS-3 build, so we're using this. This is going to be a nightmare, because I have no idea how to range this thing. I can barely even get the scope on. It also takes forever for me to load. I shouldn't have shot. I was going to keep backing up. Open this. We probably died right there. That was very close. Load, please. $183mm. Not looking so good right now. I have no idea where any of these are going. But the tank is fine at least. I should probably move though, because he's just gonna get on target and then I'm done. That is so close. I can no longer turn. I can no longer go forward. I can only back up. I just want to watch that kill me, but didn't. Maybe we'll get in one more load. Maybe that shell just kills me. Also, I overloaded. Just keep backing up. I've lost gun elevation. I've also lost the ability to shoot. Oh, that's probably why. So yeah, that's one of the downsides of having 14mm of armor, if you haven't noticed, is that on any hit, half of your turret just disappears. Hey, you can stop shooting now. One of those shots did something funny down here and removed part of my transmission. Not really a product of the armor on the front, but that is something that you would definitely be, that could definitely happen given how thin it is. Like I said, I think I mentioned it was 100mm here, which is really not that much. And then again, 14mm in the front, it is just gone. Yeah, that's what happens. So the only way I think I could possibly, I don't even know where my shells went. I don't see a single crater out there from the HE. I don't know what happened. The only way you win any of this is if you just stay at 2 kilometers out and you snipe people, which is probably a lot easier in an actual FV when you have an actual, team of people that know what they're doing driving it. Also, shout out to Sal. Cell 780 for helping me today, and just absolutely shitting on me to help demonstrate why the FV is probably not the most effective thing for a tank destroyer. I think there's definitely other ways you could go about it. So that was my FV4005, and hopefully you found this video interesting. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next one.